Hey guys, I'm just driving back to work. I thought I would do a little rant, a little ramble as I drive along here. And I know it may seem not very safe to drive and do a video blog, but I think I'll be okay as long as I keep my eyes on the road here. What I did want to talk about is this whole realization, or this whole challenge that I've been facing, and I'm sure you may have been facing as well, which is the reality, what appears to be the reality, that it is very difficult to sit down and block out 5 minutes of time to do something that doesn't immediately have to do with survival or your basic necessity needs in your day-to-day life, as it applies to food, shelter, financial necessities like work, employment, and things like that. And taking 5 minutes to do something creative, to work on a project that doesn't immediately fall into the category of basic needs, may seem not only very difficult to do or impractical, but it may actually seem impossible. It may actually seem so out of line from what seems to be possible that you're not doing it at all. And this is actually relatively common, and it's definitely common with, I've seen it happen in my own life in the past few weeks. A lot of people have this problem, and in fact, I might even go so far as to say that most people don't even realize, that they are going through life in this sort of basic necessity way where they are not thinking about so I've got a life, I've got this life that I'm living, and I get up, I go to work, I make X amount of money, and I have a social circle, I have these friends, or maybe I don't even hang out with my friends anymore because I'm staying at home so much. I am I'm living this kind of safe life, right? And most of my needs are met, where I'm getting food and shelter and work. Maybe you're not getting work, maybe you're unemployed, and hopefully you're getting unemployment if that's the case. But my point is, most people are in this position where they are getting their basic needs met. They're not thinking about anything other than that. Now, you may disagree. You may say, no, I'm thinking about other things than that. I'm thinking about higher questions like family and purpose in life, and I'm thinking about my legacy. I'm definitely thinking about those things, and if that's the case, then I salute you, and definitely I'm not trying to say that you're not thinking about these things, but are you doing anything? Are you doing actions? Are you making a plan? Are you setting aside time in your day, even if it's just 5 minutes, to do these things? And so that's really the question that I want to ask. And there's a lot going on in the world today. There's a lot of unrest, and there's a lot of injustice, and the pandemic, and uncertainty, from all angles. Like, where's our next paycheck going to, how is our lifestyle going to be affected in the next weeks or months? What's gonna happen, basically. And I can totally relate to these sentiments. I feel them on a daily basis, and I think most people feel them as well. And what I'm interested in, what I really am fascinated by, is how we can actually, in the midst of facing these difficult questions, in the midst of doing our part as responsible people and citizens of the world, how can we look at higher questions such as why am I on this earth? What am I put here to do? And what am I put here to create? And of course, if you watch my content, if you read my blogs, you know that I believe that we are all creators. We're all naturally creators. That the ability to create is ours as human beings on so many levels, and that we are meant to create. So let me talk about that for a minute. To create, let's look at it on a very basic level. We're actually creating every moment of every day. We're creating our experience moment to moment. We're creating our perspective moment to moment. And while this may seem fairly obvious on one level, it's actually very mind-blowing on another, because we don't really, a lot of us anyway, don't stop to think about the implications of what this means. And this is a really powerful fact, that human beings we're creating our experience of reality moment to moment. What does this mean? What can we learn from this? Well, we can learn a lot from it, which is one of the things is that everything is created from our experience. Our problems, our victories, our triumphs, our feelings is really all created from our experience. And what's more is we're doing it every moment of every day without even realizing it, without thinking about it, without taking any voluntary action. We're creating our experience. So that's a really powerful thing on one level, and it's good to realize that. In fact, there have been many teachers, gurus, and philosophers that have gone into this idea at length, that the whole world as we experience it, both outside and inside, both the outer world and the inner world, are created by us. Okay, and I'm not going to go into it too deeply, but that's one layer of it. Okay, that's the first thing I wanted the first thing I want to say. The next thing I want to point out is that we also have this ability as human beings to intentionally create. Okay, so what I just said is about what I just mentioned is creating on an unintentional or involuntary level, and the next thing is creating on a voluntary level, actually setting the intention to create something, sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to write a page, or I'm going to write some music, or paint a picture, or make a meal, or create something. Okay, and that's the other side of this amazing ability we have as human beings to create. So again, there's two types of creativity. There's the unintentional, involuntary type of creativity, which we're doing all the time without even realizing it. And then there's the type where we actually set the intention to create, and we do that. And the thing that I'm interested in the most is the second type of creativity, the intentional type. Why? Because we have more control over it, because we actually can make a plan. And once we have a goal in mind, once we have the thing in mind that we want to make, we can then create a plan. We can create a strategic way of going about that creation. And this is fascinating to me because it involves a lot of things. It involves, well, for one, discipline. Can I have the discipline to work at something in a process day after day, and see it through? Do I have am I able to stick with something? They are the questions that an artist asks. An artist will ask himself, can I stick with this process? What will it take for me to put the intention of painting, making a picture or writing a book? And so my whole point is that when it comes down to the voluntary act of creating something, when it comes down to putting an intention forward and really following through on that intention, that's going to call into question all of these different aspects, and discipline is one of these aspects. Stick-to-itiveness, perseverance, designing your life in such a way as to make that process an inevitable reality. All of these things that I've just mentioned, once again, they are questions. They are a way of living. They're a way of life. I like to think of this way of life as the artist's way of life, and so of course I talk about this a lot in a lot of my content and a lot of my videos and blogs. The artists living like an artist, and exactly what that means. But in the context of this video, in the context of the line of thought that I'm kind of going down now, and what's going on in the world, and how difficult it can be to actually, set aside 5 minutes to do some sort of creative work in today's day and age. To live like an artist requires everything I've just described, but really on a deeper level, it requires an understanding, or a sort of worldview, a sort of code, if you will, of going through life, which is I'm a creator, by nature. I was created to create, and that's sort of a basic belief. Whether or not you believe in God, or however you believe in God, that's not for me to say, and my religious beliefs are not important either. But what is important is your own ideology, your own worldview, as far as how you want to approach your life as an artist. Now, maybe you don't think of yourself as an artist, and that's totally okay. I'm not trying to push that on anyone. I wouldn't want to go up to anyone and say you need to think of yourself as an artist. I mean, that's preposterous. I don't think anyone would want to be pushed into thinking of themselves a certain way. However, I do believe that it could be very useful to think of oneself as an artist, because once you do, you approach your life, you approach every angle, every aspect of your life with the sort of mindset that it would take to be a successful artist. And that goes back to all the qualities I mentioned before: discipline, creativity, innovation. What I really do hope for you is that you can find a way to set aside 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and say, okay, in this 5 minutes, I'm going to work on something that is just mine, something that is my own creation and nobody else's, and I'm going to work on it for 5 minutes, and just block out all these other distractions, all these other crazy things that are happening around me in the world, all of the bad news, all of the worry that I have about myself or loved ones getting sick, all of these worries, all of these insecurities, maybe the fact that maybe I recently lost my mom last year. We lose loved ones. These things, we as human beings come across adversity, and adversity seems to be abundant these days. So my point is, block out the adversity for 5 minutes and make something. Just sit down and create something. It doesn't have to be a whole big thing. It doesn't have to be a whole novel or a whole thesis or a whole vision from start to finish, but it can be just a simple little paragraph, or it can be like a few bars of music, or it can be sitting down and creating a little recording a demo if you're a musician, or if you're a writer or a painter, maybe making a little sketch. So that's kind of my thoughts for you today in this kind of haphazard video blog of rambling on a Wednesday in LA. Think about, not even think. It's not a thinking thing, because that thinking creates problems. But just do it, and I'm talking to myself just as much as I'm talking to you, to take that 5 minutes. It could fit within a larger scheme of a process or a plan, or it could just be for the inherent goodness of doing it, taking 5 minutes blocking out all distractions, all adversity, all the bad news, all the fear, all the doubt, all the negativity, and making something that is uniquely and truly your own. And that is what I want to say today. Now, please take a moment and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Please take a moment and comment. Shoot me a comment in the comments to let me know that you're resonating with what I'm saying, and that you are getting some value out of this whole idea, this whole philosophy, if you will, that you can actually live your life with the mindset of an artist. And the final thing is, I am hosting a beta test of a brand new method that I have been working on very very hard for the past it's been I guess these ideas really started like when I was 20, so about 9 years ago. I've been working on this method to get people back to their true creative selves, their true inner artist. And this idea is just so important to me. And the beta test is really cool. I have 2 people that are going through it right now. They're both on week 2. It is a 7-week test. It will require 7 weeks of your time. It will require daily meditation, very simple daily meditation, a weekly call with me, and weekly missions that you will do to get yourself clear on exactly what you want to create, to have you stay on the path even when things get hard or discouraging, to give you structure, daily structure, weekly structure, as far as how you can stick with your goals, your creative vision, and accountability. And accountability is so important. There's so many people, I believe, that don't truly understand how important accountability is when you're trying to create something, when you're trying to change your life, and I do believe that this comes down to changing your life, your entire life in every aspect, because to be an effective creator, to be an effective artist, you will need to change your entire life. And I believe that this method that I'm working on, I truly do believe it will help people do that. So if you're interested in participating in the beta test, do reach out to me by commenting below, just with the phrase beta test, or you can comment with the word art in all caps, and just comment below, or just say I'm interested in the beta test, just something to that effect, so I know that you would like to participate. Other than that, I am going to sign off and get back to work. So thank you all so much for humoring me, for listening to my long-winded ramblings, and I will catch you in the next video, and hopefully see you on the beta test. Take care and stay strong.